In this session we'll be looking at how to solo over the 2-5-1 chord progression, and the scales that we'll be using to play over this chord progression will be either the major scale or the major pentatonic scale. The term 2-5-1 relates to the chords created from a particular scale, and in this case we're talking about the major scale. So on the screen in front of you at the moment I have two sets of chords. The top set of chords here is the triadic, the free note version of the chords created from a scale, and at the bottom here we have the same idea only in scale tone 7th chords, which means they're 4-note chords created from the major scale. So when we look at 2-5-1, what they're referring to is the second chord in the key moving to the 5th chord, and that in turn resolving back to the 1st chord. And here's the same thing in the scale tone 7th version. So we have a 2, 5, and that in turn is going back to chord 1. Now I've shown both of these tables in this presentation because there's a couple of variations on the 2-5-1 progression, and you need to be able to spot them and understand how they work. The examples I'm going to use in this video will be primarily in the key of G. So I'm working here. So a typical 2-5-1 chord progression in the key of G could be A minor followed by D and then resolving to G. Another way that you'll see it often in music, it might be A minor and then borrowing from the scale tone 7th set of chords, might be going from A minor to D 7th as the 5th chord and then resolving back to G. And one other basic variation which turns up quite a lot in songs would be using an A minor 7th as the second chord in the scale tone 7th, A minor 7th, going to D 7th and then resolving to G. Now because all of these chords in both tables are derived from the major scale, it therefore makes sense that we can play the major scale over the chord progression. And also bearing in mind that essentially the major pentatonic scale is simply the same notes as the major scale, only with the 4th and 7th notes omitted. So it's pretty easy to see how you can use the major pentatonic scale against the same chord progression. And now here we have the 2-5-1 progression in the key of G presented in the normal format that we're likely to see it in a piece of sheet music. We have chord 2, the A minor, moving to chord 5, and that in turn resolving to chord 1. And this is the basic triadic version, 3-note chord version. And then here's one of the alternative ways of presenting the 2-5-1 in the key of G, where we have A minor, this time D 7th, resolving to G, and our third option, A minor 7, moving to D 7th, and then resolving to G. In all these instances, it's still classified as a 2-5-1 progression in the key of G. The circle of fifths is a very helpful tool to help us identify a 2-5-1 progression. Essentially, when you have 3 consecutive notes on our circle moving in an anti-clockwise direction, like for example here I have an A moving to a D, moving to a G, and there we have our 2-5-1 progression. The very last one is the key. That's our key center. the G. And the circle is actually showing us the root movement. This could be an A minor moving to a D and then resolving to G. That would give us the very first progression we have on the page. Or it could be an A minor going to a D7, this time D7, resolving to a G. That would be our second chord progression. And the third one, we could have A minor 7. And this just relates to chord textures, different types of textures in the background. There's our third progression there, A minor 7, D7 to G. And so there's an easy visual way to help you remember how to spot 2-5-1 chord progressions. So here's an example of 2-5-1s moving through a variety of different keys, and just see how quickly you can spot the 2-5-1 progressions. So we have the first one, A, D, G, that's in the key of G. Remember, what we're looking for is 3 consecutive notes moving in an anti-clockwise direction around our circle of fifths. The second thing we're looking for is if we have a minor chord followed by a major chord followed by a major chord, or alternatively minor, dominant 7th, and then major chord. Let's move on to the second line, C, F, B flat. There's our next 2-5-1 progression. This time it's key of B flat is our key of the moment. The next line, E flat, A flat, D flat. There we have another 2-5-1 progression, and this time it's in the key of D flat. And here's another one, this is a little bit tricky, F sharp minor, B 7th to E. Just keep in mind that F sharp could also be written as G flat, so actually we do have another 2-5-1 progression here. This time it's in the key of E.